Hi guys, welcome back to Chop D and York Performance Institute. I just want to give you a little rundown today about kind of the flow cycle, okay? And within the flow cycle, it's something that we kind of keep referring back to, but I want to give you a little bit more information about not only a personal flow cycle, but a group flow cycle, okay? So first of all, we'll start off with the personal flow cycle. This goes in 4 stages. In the 4 stages, first of all, we have the struggle. Okay, when we're in the struggle, this is like the first part of finding flow. What we're trying to do is experiment a lot. We're going to make a lot of mistakes, okay? But within those mistakes, we learn. We learn what we can do, we learn what we can't do, okay? And this is where a lot of people will maybe give up, or they might get that kind of feedback loop where they maybe struggle, or they maybe have a mistake or a bad event or a deeper emotional event where maybe a loss kind of hits a little bit deeper or something like that, and then people just go, that's it, I've had enough, like I can't take this anymore. On the flip side, within the struggle, this is also where we learn mental tenacity. This is where we learn mental strength. We learn to embrace the grind and get into the struggle, okay? This is where we're kind of pushing those boundaries all the time, where we can stay in that kind of consistent pursuit of better. And within the struggle, sooner or later, over time, we learn to relax. We learn to relax into the system. We learn to relax into the process. We find what we can do, we learn what we can't do, and we're a little bit more comfortable about the parameters that we have to work with it. Every now and again, when we get into that relaxation phase, sooner or later, we start to lose track of self. And when we lose track of self, this is the start of flow. So we lose track of ourselves, of what we're doing and stuff like that. All of a sudden, we find new realms of confidence and we start boosting our performance because we're no longer breeding any kind of internal anxieties or any nervousness around the parameters where we've struggled previously. We've allowed ourselves to get into this relaxation phase, but every now and again, all the kind of stars align and everything kind of drops into place. And this is how we find flow. So when we're losing track of ourselves, and when we're losing track of time, and when we're boosting our confidence, this is when we're getting into flow. So when I've been describing this at like at school and stuff like that, I explained to the kids, like, have you ever had it when you've been in a kind of boring lesson and the 1 hour lesson seems to take an absolute age, but then that half-hour break time flies by in the blink of an eye? That's because you're not in flow in the lesson, but you are in flow when you're in play. And then when we move out of flow, okay, because as soon as this is the paradox of it. As soon as we start recognizing that we're in flow, it knocks us out of flow. So it's about being present, and it's about staying in the moment. It's about staying ready and just enjoying the activity that you're doing with a solo focus. So it's getting away from multitasking. It's about unitasking. It's about doing the one task and being totally immersed within that task. When we drop out of flow, we have to recover. Now, that recovery it's partly a physical recovery, but it's also a mental recovery. When we have our mental recovery, this is generally when we sleep. So if I'm doing a muscular movement, say for boxing, or Thai boxing, throwing a punch, it might be a five or six step phase. So maybe like feeling the push from my foot to engage in my knee, to turn my hip, to turn my shoulder, to firing the punch out, okay? And it might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Then, when we're in our recovery phase, when we're sleeping, because we're not having to do that physically, we can do it neurologically. We can do it at a mental level. So instead of boom, 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 we repeat it when we sleep like 10 times as fast. So this is why sleep is a massive part of your recovery, a massive part of learning, and a massive part of our neuromuscular development, part of our coordination development, which then takes us back to our struggle. So that even though the pursuit is always to get to flow, if we try and stay in flow for too long, it's unsustainable to stay at that level. Okay. Now the aim of the game is to get back to the struggle as quickly as possible. So then we can find new parameters, we can find new levels, we can find new ways of doing the things that we're trying to do. So then we can relax into the game a little bit more, experiment with these new tactics, experiment with the new techniques, drop into flow where we're no longer like overthinking things or breeding any anxiety. That's where we get the reward mechanisms and the dopamine hits and everything else. And then we drop back into recovery. And this is how we continually get better. So the aim of the game is to have this kind of skills challenge ratio, okay, which kind of takes us on to these group flow triggers, which there's obviously a crossover between the personal flow cycle and the group flow cycle. So when there's a good cohesive group working together, we have a state of attention, okay, and there's an immediate feedback. So within that immediate feedback loop, so in Thai boxing, your immediate feedback is you try and defend a punch, you don't defend a punch, you get punched in the face, you get immediate feedback. It's fantastic for that. There's clear goals. You know you're trying to land a punch and trying not to get hit. You're trying to defend the hit. Okay, so this is where the clear goals kicks in. The challenge skills ratio. The aim is to get to 104%. So it's just above where we need to be working, but we can't be comfortable. And the thing is that our skill ratio, we have good days and bad days. So sometimes if you're not feeling the vibe, you just need to be able to do something where it's 104% of the challenge of your current skill ratio. Okay. Now this skill ratio, obviously, like I say, isn't fixed. Okay. Like I said, we have good days and we have bad days. So some days, like if you're having an off day, you just work on your basics. Do the basics, but doing the basics well. And doing your basics when you're having an off day. So if you're having an off day and things don't seem to be quite working right, this is the perfect time to have this skill challenge ratio. Work on your basics and do the basics well, even when you're having an off day. So even at your lowest level of performance, you can still do the basics well. Then we have environment. Okay, so in the environment, we have high consequence. So this is the danger, the potential danger or safety risk of sparring in a high level class. Yes, okay, you're going to get some immediate feedback. If you're the best guy in the room, it's not really a challenge. But the thing is that we can limit our performance if you are the best guy in the room. So within that high consequence, this is how we push our performance, and we always aim to get better and better and better. We have a rich environment. So we've probably felt that over these COVID times, through these lockdown times. People working out at home and stuff like that, you're still trying to get that same gym vibe, but nothing quite feels like it when you're in the gym. And this is this rich environment. So when you have a great gym to train at with loads of fantastic equipment, you pick up the vibe, you pick up the social vibe and the environment, and it's kind of like a sensory overload as well, because not only is it what you see, what you're seeing, it's what you're hearing, it's what you're smelling, it's everything. It's everything that picks up that rich environment, and also deep embodiment. So deep embodiment is also going that little bit deeper into some of these skills challenges. It's deep embodiment within the values of the sport that we're doing. So how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? So for beginners, when you're learning your jab, cross, hook, body kick, and you're learning the mechanics of that, okay, that may be deep embodiment for a beginner, but to an advanced guy, that's not going to be deep embodiment. So this, again, could be something that knocks you out of flow. The social skills, this is when we've got concentration. So this is when we've got one mouth and two ears. We should be listening twice as much as we're talking. So when it comes to instruction time, we're totally focused. We've got that good concentration, and we've got clear goals. So these clear goals, again, immediate feedback, clear goals in the psychological, in the internal side of things, also comes into the social. So understanding what the parameters are of the drill that we're doing. Good communication. Has the parameters of the drill been explained clearly and correctly? Do you have familiarity with the sport? Okay, so when you're first experiencing a sport, or maybe you're doing, like, it might be the first time that you do clinch work, and you realise that you're not allowed to hip throw, or you're not allowed to hook a leg, or you're not allowed to hyperextend the back. These are fouls within the sport, and so we learn the rules, and then we can get back into this flow cycle. Equal participation to skill level. So, like I say, if you're the alpha, if you're the best guy in the room, and it's not really a challenge, well, you're not really going to have to step your game up in order to participate within that group. However, this is where the challenge is. So if you see the group of people that you're with as a pyramid, as you get better, you climb up the pyramid, and there's less and less competition, but it's a higher level of competition. There's less people to compete against. So if that's the limiting factor, then you limit your performance. You limit the parameters of the things that you can do. So if you're an advanced guy and you're sparring against a beginner, right? Okay, you're not allowed to attack. So the advanced guy isn't allowed to attack back. They're only allowed to defend. And the aim of the game for the advanced guy is you're only allowed to block, and they're not allowed to land a single shot. Now, okay, that might seem like a bit of a challenge. As we start getting better, we can start speeding up and slowing down time. Within this flow cycle, this is how we can, like I said, remember about losing track of time? This is how we can then start slowing time down so that we see opportunities for counters. And this is where the risk comes in. So within the risk, we have a physical risk, we have a mental risk, and we have a creative risk. Do I have the confidence in order to experiment? Do I have the confidence to be creative? Is my ego too fragile to take a risk? Am I physically not strong enough to take a risk? Am I sparring against people that are always smaller than me? And again, like I said, there'll be people that you can think about now that will always go hard against the smaller guys, but as soon as they're against someone bigger, all of a sudden they stop doing what they were doing against the smaller guys. and this is a confidence measure. Control. So yes, okay, we can play with working with people that are bigger than us. Some are smaller than us. Can you control your technique? Listening. We're getting into our listening loops. So when we're talking about listening loops, we're talking about the coach explaining an idea and a concept, you then being able to repeat the concept within the drill and the exercise, and then not having to totally disengage from the activity. Can you listen while still working? Having a yes attitude. Do you have a yes attitude? So that yes attitude means, am I willing to take a risk? Which kind of works back to number 13. Am I willing to accept a challenge? Sometimes you might put an idea forwards to somebody, and they're like, oh, I can't do that. That's too much of a challenge. Well, okay. If you had a yes attitude, what would that like? What would that look like? Could you challenge yourself to go back to the struggle, to be willing to make a mistake in order to allow yourself to grow, to facilitate this growth? But then number 17, probably the most valuable one, is the creativity. And when we're talking about flow, this is what we're talking about in being able to get to a point of learn and redo, gradually getting better and better and better, because I can allow myself to be creative and I can allow myself to take risks and do it in a safe environment where there's the understanding of risk, but also there's not a too harsh a punishment. Okay? And this is where it comes back to high consequence. So understanding the high consequence means that we don't necessarily have to go through the physical consequence. So maybe throwing a kick or something, and the kick misses. Are you going to get punished harshly for it? If you are getting punished harshly for it, it's going to stop you from doing it again. So this is where play sparring and touch sparring comes into play. This is how we learn. So this then takes us back to the personal flow cycle, where we embrace the struggle, we learn to relax, we drop into flow, and then we recover. When we're in flow, this is a magical state. And this is the process where we're always looking to improve our psychological development. Because the body doesn't work without the mind. Both have to work in conjunction with each other. So if we can do that, then we have the group flow triggers when we're working with other people in class, and when you've got that deep embodiment state and everyone kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, that's how positive competition ends up facilitating massive leaps in growth and massive leaps in development. That's where I want to leave it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, you can drop it in the comments below. And if any of the guys from Chokdi have any questions, you can come and speak to me at class. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.